Meghan. It appears that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are charting a different course, one rooted in their life in California, far from the palaces and protocols of the United Kingdom. And yet, even with the distance they've chosen, the connection to the United Kingdom remains. Not just in geography, but in the threads of family, memory, and identity that can't be easily unraveled. Harry, in particular, carries the weight of history on his shoulders. He's not simply a man who walked away from royal duties. He's a son who has endured public heartbreak, a husband trying to shield his wife, and a father determined to give his children a different kind of childhood. There's a quiet nobility in that, different from the kind bestowed by birthright, but perhaps more meaningful in its intention. In Montecito, Harry and Meghan have found space to breathe. Their children, Archie and Lilibet, are growing up with chickens in the garden, the Pacific breeze at their backs, and the freedom to simply be. No royal wave required. Their parents, meanwhile, have leaned into causes that matter deeply to them: mental health, racial equity, veterans' welfare, and women's empowerment. The headlines don't always reflect this quieter work, but it continues, steady and sincere, away from the flash of cameras and the roar of royal critics. Still, the British press continues to analyze every move, every silence, every glance exchanged during public events or family commemorations. But perhaps the real story is less about what's happening on palace balconies and more about what's unfolding inside these very human hearts navigating loss, loyalty, and longing. No matter what side of the ocean they live on, one truth remains: reconciliation is a slow dance. It requires time, humility, and often, a great deal of grace. For the royal family, and for Harry and Meghan, it may not come with fanfare. But it may come in small, meaningful steps. In a phone call, in a quiet moment, in forgiveness that isn't loud, but lasting. Until then, their story continues, one foot in legacy, the other in a future they've chosen together. And maybe, just maybe, that is the truest kind of royalty. Not long ago, a few quiet photographs surfaced online, unassuming yet striking in their implications. Captured on a London balcony near Clarence House, the images showed Meghan and Harry's communications team, Meredith Maines and Liam Maguire, engaged in conversation with Tobin Andrea, a key communications secretary for King Charles. The location, the timing, and the players involved all seemed to hint at something brewing beneath the surface. Royal enthusiasts began to speculate: was a reunion in the works? Could the wounds of the past few years, sharp and raw as they've been, finally be healing? After all, while Prince William's team was notably absent from the meeting, the very idea that aides from both the Sussex and royal camps would meet in person had not been seriously entertained in quite some time. But just as quickly as the rumors spread, they were met with a sobering dose of clarity from sources close to the Duke and Duchess. According to trusted insiders, Harry and Meghan are not planning a grand return to the UK. In fact, they are reportedly more settled than ever in their Montecito home, surrounded by the peace of the California coast, raising their two young children in a life deliberately distanced from the scrutiny that once defined their days. They're very happy living in and raising their family in California, a source shared with the Mail, adding, and, as it stands, have no plans to leave. The sentiment was calm, clear, and without ambiguity. There was no grand announcement, no sweeping declaration, just a gentle reminder that their lives have moved on, and that they're choosing, each day, a future rooted not in royalty but in quiet resolve and personal conviction. Still, the whispers persist, because for many who came of age watching Princess Diana's boys grow into men, there is an emotional pull to the idea of unity. The thought of Harry rejoining the royal family, even partially, evokes memories of tradition, family, and continuity. But the reality is more nuanced. While Harry is expected to return to the UK from time to time, particularly to continue supporting his charitable causes and long-held patronages, it is understood that these visits will be solo endeavors. Meghan, it seems, will not be joining him. This distinction matters. It speaks not only to practical considerations, such as Meghan's past experiences with the British press and public opinion, but also to the couple's current priorities as parents and partners. Their life in America isn't just a temporary refuge, it's a life they've built intentionally. And yet, there remains an unspoken ache beneath it all. In May, Harry gave a quietly heart-wrenching interview following his loss in the UK Court of Appeal over security arrangements for his family. In his remarks, he revealed that his father, King Charles, had not spoken to him in some time, and he openly wondered how long he might have left with the king, who is currently undergoing treatment for cancer. For anyone who has navigated estrangement within a family, especially against the ticking clock of illness, Harry's words resonated. He didn't lash out or lay blame. Instead, he described his legal defeat as a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up, a phrase filled more with resignation than anger. His concern, he explained, was not political or personal, it was parental. He couldn't, in good conscience, bring Meghan and the children back to the UK without the security he believed they needed. It's easy, from the outside, to view these stories as tabloid fodder. But to understand them more deeply, one has to look beyond the headlines. This isn't just about titles and tabloids. It's about a man trying to protect his family, a woman determined to preserve her peace, and a couple who, despite walking away from the spotlight of Buckingham Palace, have never fully escaped its shadow. They've tried to carve out something of their own, a life with purpose, privacy, and joy. But the past clings, as it so often does, especially when that past is shaped by royalty, legacy, and public scrutiny. There's a poignancy in all of this that may not be fully appreciated by younger audiences. For those of us who remember the young Harry walking behind his mother's coffin, who watched him serve in Afghanistan, who saw his public persona shaped and reshaped by loss, duty, and personal struggle, this latest chapter carries weight. It's not about scandal anymore. It's about choices. It's about legacy. It's about the quiet, deeply human yearning for both freedom and connection, for both autonomy and family. And so, while the idea of Harry and Meghan returning to the UK in any full or permanent way appears to be off the table, the emotional ties to Britain remain. Harry's heart, one imagines, is still tethered in some way to the land that raised him, the institutions that shaped him, and the family that, despite everything, still means something to him. But his path, at least for now, lies elsewhere. California offers a different kind of monarchy, one ruled not by tradition, but by intention. A place where their children can grow without the burden of titles, where the couple can pursue philanthropy, creative projects, and advocacy in ways that feel authentic to them. As for King Charles, his reaction to all of this has remained, publicly at least, understated. While his team may have engaged with the Sussex aides in London, the king himself has not commented. Perhaps he's chosen discretion. Perhaps he's waiting for a better moment. Or perhaps, like many fathers and sons whose relationships have been strained by time, choices, and distance, he simply doesn't know where to begin. But the door, one hopes, is not closed completely. Because for all the pomp and ceremony that surrounds the royal family, at the end of the day, it is still a family. A family with wounds, pride, silence, and regret. A family that has endured its share of loss, both public and private. And if time has taught us anything, it's that reconciliation is rarely linear. It doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it begins on a balcony, in a quiet conversation. Sometimes it lives in the pauses, in the hopes we carry even when the road ahead seems uncertain. For now, Harry and Meghan remain in California, building a life that is both familiar and entirely new. The royal chapters of their story may be behind them, but the story itself is far from over. And for those of us watching from afar, perhaps the most meaningful thing we can do is remember that beneath the headlines, these are real people, with real choices, and real hearts that, like all of ours, are trying to find their way.